Hello, Billy the Artist here, back with another How to Draw video. Today we are doing Ginny Weasley, and we're doing it from the Chamber of Secrets with Tom Riddle's diary. It will be good fun to do. And again, so many of you have been asking for Ginny Weasley. It's absolutely fantastic. There's so many that I could actually name. Like over the last 12 months, so many people have asked for Ginny Weasley. But I am giving a special shout out to Audrey over in the USA. Enjoy. And all of you, so many names that I could mention, but I do. Audrey, thank you for enjoying doing my lessons and enjoy drawing Ginny. This will be good fun. Anyway, but do check out, before we go any further, do please like and subscribe. Please do tick the bell to be notified when new How to Draw videos are going to be available. And please do use the hashtag Drawing with Billy. Again, it's fantastic. People tagging me and sharing with me on Instagram. Again, all the links to my social media are below in the banner you may have seen. And it's absolutely fantastic to encourage everyone with your drawing. It's just great. I'm sorry that there's been a bit of a break. Again, everything that's going on for everybody around the planet is slightly bonkers, and just restarting and getting new systems in place to be able to, hopefully I can now crack on. Please do share these videos out as much as possible. If you want me to do more, I basically need to have more views on YouTube. That would be fantastic. So if you can do that, that's great. I'd love these to go viral, which would be just a joy to encourage more people with drawing, and I will be doing more videos. Anyway, these are in the Harry Potter. Check out the Harry Potter playlist, How to Draw Harry Potter. There are lots of characters in there now. The latest one was Luna Lovegood. So we have done Luna. She was fantastic to do. This was Harry. This is what kind of started it all a long time ago. And we have Hagrid. And there are so many others. These are fantastic to do. Check them out. Check out the Harry Potter playlist. Link in the cards and in the description. To lots and lots of videos. There are over 130 How to Draw videos now in my actual How to Draw playlist. There is a special dedicated one for portraits, and I do this to help you to learn how to do portraits that seem very, very complex, but using very, very simple techniques. Let me just move these people out of the way so they are safe. Oh, stuff on the paper. Now, this is the paper that we are going to use, and it's an A4 piece of paper. It's just standard cartridge paper, drawing paper, and it's divided up into 2 centimetre squares. Now, I haven't started right in the corner. If you check out the banner right now, you will see the dimensions for this. A4 paper is 210 millimetres by 297. That's 21 centimetres by 29.7. The 2 centimetre grid, I like this centre line. Now, this centre line works with, like I did on the Harry Potter one, when I used to just divide it into bigger areas, but I then use shapes. But this centre line is just great because it literally is the centre of the page, rather than just starting up in the corner and then working across. I've done this because it works with the other drawings that I do where I've got the centre line. Now again, these start at 5 millimetres in, or half a centimetre, and then we've got the 2 centimetre grid that's drawn about. Now again, if you check now in the banner, but up in the cards, and it's in the description as well, there is a video that shows me laying the grids down, the simpler one and the 2 centimetre grid, in real time, so you can see how to lay this down in multiple different ways. Anyway, that's a very, very simple way to do it. I also draw these lines down on this paper much darker than you need to. You don't have to draw them on. Use something like a 2H pencil and it'll be very light. It's easier for you to erase. I use a 2B pencil to put these lines down so that you can actually see them on the paper. That's very important. And then even the construction lines that I put down very, very dark. You don't have to do that. You can do them much lighter. Now again, I make this very simple. I've had a lot of comments where I've replied to people and I say, when I was learning over 4 decades ago to draw, right the way from my 6 to 8 years of age, then through my teens, there was nothing like this available. And to actually have someone show simple techniques to draw something as complex as a portrait, I am using the same techniques as in the very, very beginner video. Check this out now. In the description and in the cards, how to draw anything, part 1. I say in there, you can draw anything from a bird, a bee, a flea, a tree, a horse, a house, or anything else using basic shapes. Now that's very simple, freehand. Using this grid, which is a time-honoured, wonderful technique by the old masters, makes things very, very simple. And I've seen paintings, I think it's Sir Frederick Leighton. I've mentioned my love of the V&A and my wife's love of the V&A Museum in London. And there's a massive painting. We're talking maybe 20 to 30 feet long and 15 feet high. It's a big arc. It's a big kind of semicircle. And they've got 2 of them. They've got his original working out and the kind of more finished painting in their collection. And you can see that he used a grid like this. So loads of people go, oh, it's cheating. No, it's not. It's an art technique. I want you to have fun. And that's the beauty with what we're doing with all of this. So we are going to enjoy the drawing and we are going to crack on. So now we need the trusty 2B pencil. I'm going to use this one. It's in the pencil extender because it's nearly run out, but it just means I can get a little bit more life out of it. There's a longer one that we'll get into using soon. And we're going to get on with drawing Ginny Weasley in year 1 at Hogwarts. And we are going to start with simple shapes and little marks that we can actually put down. So on the 105 line, we have got these lines, the top of a head. So on the 105 and the 85, I'm just going to put a couple of marks on. Now we've got the hair clip that's kind of a bit lower down. So that's between the 65 and the 85 vertical on the centre line. So now you can see you've got a bit of a square. If you just put a square there first, a rectangle, and then a triangle shape with a flat top, you can see that's going to be the shape of the little hair slide, the hair clip that she's got in. Now, if we come down and we've got on the 105 line, we just want a little rectangle right on the line. Now, I did just wobble that a little bit high. I just let the pencil drop a little bit. And that's going to be her corner of her eyebrow. Now, coming across, we want a little rectangle there, and that's the top of her eyebrow. Now, her eye, I'm just going to put in a full rectangle, and it comes about halfway in this box that's to the left of the 85 vertical. And this is what I mean about using shapes. Now, if we come over to the left of the 65 line, we've got a rectangle there that's the kind of highlight part of the top of her nose, and then we've got another rectangle there going inside the box, which is the left side of her nose. Now, up on this part, we want kind of, it's like halfway. We've got a little triangle here, and that's the line of her eyebrow and the side of her eye socket above her eye. Now, you can see here we've got this line coming across from this rectangle that we've drawn, and we've got the other rectangle. This is going to be her right eye. Again, we'll put the other shapes in soon. Then we want a forehead, and you can see how this comes up and goes across. We've got a rectangle for the forehead, and then we want, coming across here, we've got this diagonal line. So here we've got a massive triangle. Now again, putting these shapes down, you're looking and you're using the guidelines as reference points. Now you can go straight in and just draw the outline, but by putting these shapes down, when you do your own freehand drawing, you will be able to place it on the paper, place these boxes down, and it will help you. And again, just do work in sketchbooks, draw things like cups. You'll see that in How to Draw Anything Part 1. You can draw general everyday items, and it'll help get your hand-eye coordination in. So again, here we've got this triangle, and we've got another little triangle there that's going to be her ear. So if we then come down, and that's just this section here of hair that's caused by the hair clip. So now we come down, we've got the diagonal line coming over of a jaw, and that's going to be in shadow, and this comes right over to the 165 line and the centre line. So here we are, we've got that. That's the, like I say, I was like hovering here, it was a little bit far over, but this is why you look at your reference and you use the lines and you use the guidelines. So now we can put this kind of little bit of a triangle shape here, which is the bottom of a chin, and then we've got a little triangle underneath her eye and the same bit of shadow underneath that eye. We can draw another vertical line up, which is the inside of her nose, and we've got a little bit of a V inside the eyes there. And this is just how simple it is putting these shapes down. I'm being a bit lighter than I am normally. So anyway, we bring the cheek line down, and you can see there's a little triangle there caused by the lines of the 65 and the 165 that then comes down to a chin. And then we want another diagonal rectangle shape just to the right of the 85 and just to the right of the 65 line, and that's where Ginny's mouth, played by the actress Bonnie Wright, is going to be. And so that's going to be a mouth, and then we've got a little vertical rectangle, and that's the centre part of a nose, and there's a little V there. We'll put a lips in momentarily, but you can see now straight away these simple shapes are making a face shape, and you can see there's the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the edge of the face. Now here we've got very simply a large rectangle that's going to be the book, Tom Riddle's diary. Now we can see on the 125 line it goes right through that centre point, and it comes over to the 165 line, and it's a little bit above halfway. Now you can then draw that line over, and you can see how it comes halfway in between the 65 and the 85, and you can just draw that long straight line. And it's a leather book, so you can use a ruler if you want, but you don't need to. A leather book, it's leather bound, so it's got that kind of nice fluid leather natural texture, so it's not a perfectly straight line. Now we can see that that's going to come down to below the 205 line where her thumb is. Now on this corner we can see that's going to come down to about here between the 245 and the 265. So you can imagine that you've got a full rectangle that comes across, and that's how far that needs to come down. But we've then got this fantastic, it's just a triangle, and so that makes a triangle on the corner of the book, and we've got that little semicircle there, and then we've got little shapes up there, but we can put those details in afterwards. Now you've then behind it, you've got the second line, you've got the back of the book as it kind of goes up to the spine, and you've got that shape there, and that falls behind a hair. We've got the back of the book of the diary. Again, just follow the line, the diagonal that comes down. Now here we've got her hair And again, I'm just looking as I'm going round and just drawing the shapes. You can work from the top to bottom, you can work from the bottom to the top. It can be a choice that you want to do. And it's fantastic that you follow these instructions, but the more you do, the more you will learn. And here you can see like a narrowing rectangle going up to a hair. And then here we've got a triangle, which is the dark. But the more you practice, the more you learn. You'll learn when you're doing your own that you can literally just put the shapes in anywhere. So if you did this and completely copied the directions that I'm doing and then chose to do it again afterwards, you could go, right, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to have the reference up and I'm going to start here and I'm going to draw shapes. And that's how you learn and you develop your skills, which is wonderful. So now here you can see we've got the shape. It's like a D shape that curves around, and that's the hair going up. So now we want coming down to level with the corner of a jaw. We've got this triangle. So this is kind of reverse drawing. I'm not doing the outside. Excuse me, just hiccuping. So here we can bring this triangle of dark that it will be. And you can see how that goes up. It needs to go through the centre there of between the 145 and the 165 on the 125 line, kind of below her eyes. And that needs to be, the triangle needs to be through the centre there. And it comes down and then kicks across. So here, if we go right across, and then you can kind of draw that triangle up. Now that's too high because it kicks up, so you've got two kind of triangles. So you draw that one first, and then here you can see you've got a triangle that comes down to the 165. That's the top part. And then you want to kick it out over. And that's how you create that shadow. You're creating that dark space that's then your reference point to build on. So now here you can see from this corner going right the way out, we've got Ginny's hair that comes up. You've got a little triangle there, and that's going to go up, goes through the 165, 105 point, and then it goes up, shape of a head, causes that curve. Then you've got that little triangle there between the 145 and the 65. And you can see another little triangle there. That's the shape as the hair goes up. And you're just following and you're kind of doing a dot to dot. And then the hair curves, goes through the 125, goes right through the centre of the 25 horizontal, and then goes through that mark at the top. And you just want to curve that over. And it comes down. And then this is going to come to the centre parting here. And now we can just draw a very simple parallelogram. A parallelogram is a rectangle on a slant. And you can see you've just got that shape there. How it's indicating loosely where the edge of a head is and that centre parting. And we're going to build on that in a moment. So we can see here the centre parting. We've got the line at the top, in the centre going up that joins the 65 line. It's vertical. And then we've got this box shape that comes over into the hair clip. And then we've got this triangle here of the hair coming down. And again, you can see how from the tip of that point going through, you've got this dark line that goes through, up, curves, and that's just a good reference point for us. Now, here we've got a little triangle, and that's the centre parting, and then we can just bring that curve down, take that up, and this is kind of a little bit adding the detail, but it's just nice to put the fluid shapes on. So here on this parallelogram, we want to draw that out, and it's about a third of the way between the 65 and the 45, and then it curves across right through the cross point of the 245s. And then here you've got this triangle. So you can see now from this top corner point, you've got this triangle, but just slightly curve the outside edge. And that's going to be Ginny's hair. And then here on the centre, we've got another little triangle that's the hair going around the corner of her head. And there already you can see this nice shape appearing. Now we need to get the rest of these other shapes in, and we're going to start with the hand. So we've got the thumb down here and the knuckles. So above the 225, just by the book, I'm going to draw a nice rectangle, and it comes down below the 265. Now here, going through the 85 line, we can see there's, from that kind of knuckle on this side, we can see a triangle. And don't worry about going over the lines. This is why I say you can do them lighter, it's easier to rub out. And that's the thumb joint from the edge of a hand up to the first kind of joint in the actual thumb itself. Then you want a rectangle there, and then you want a kind of little rectangle there that's the front of the thumb. Now really we've got little triangles that you can put inside, and that's going to be the curve. Now inside here we want a box that comes down. You can see inside the actual shape that you've got there, we've got a kind of rectangle. That's going to be the negative shape when we put the curve in. Now here we've just got a C shape. That's going to be that knuckle. And then you can see a D shape, or you can even see an S. And then we want a little triangle, and that's going to be the angle of the third knuckle down to the little finger edge of the hand. And then this curves across. And then here you can see we've got this diagonal line that goes up. And it kind of goes up to the centre. And we just want a kind of curved rectangle, long rectangle. And that's the white of Ginny's left shirt sleeve. And then we've got a triangle for the grey, and that goes down to the centre line. Now you can see there's a fantastic triangle there in that corner, and that's the wrist going up to the hand joint. And you can even, like, I'm just putting a little C-shaped curve there. That's the shape of that hand going around. And again, here you can see on the 85 line up to the 265, you've got another little triangle there. But there you can see you've just got that nice box shape, which is the wrist going up. So something as complex as a clenched hand, we've just broken down into shapes. When we actually put the full outline down, putting those shapes down makes it really, really simple. Now again, you can see the curve of the book, this leather diary being pushed through Ginny's hand and comes out at the bottom. So you've got that diary just being squeezed by a hand, causing that shape. Now again, here we've got a triangle, and that's the bottom of her hair. That's the lower part of Ginny's hair on this side. And so going up to the 185, we can see there we've got a shape that goes up to the 165. It carries on going through, and you can kind of draw that down as a triangle. Now that line goes straight up to join where her eye is, and then we've got a vertical, so you can almost see a nice long rectangle there. Now again, through the 65 line and the 185, we've got this dark patch there. But here we can just see the curve coming round. So we can just curve parts of the hair. And then here over the 25 line, we've got another little triangle. And that's the shape of the hair, and we'll put the more detail in as we build up the drawing. And we need to just curve that out a little bit more. So now we come over here, we've got a little rectangle for that bit of ginger hair there, because the Weasleys all have that fantastic ginger hair. Then we've got the rectangle coming up to that junction with the 185. That comes across. You can see how the hair goes up, and it's a bit like, you can see there, it's a bit like a tree trunk coming down. So you can see the tree trunk coming down there and then the roots going off, as it were. Again, just using your imagination, which is everything that Harry Potter is. It's just a fantastic story from the imagination of J.K. Rowling. It'll help you draw someone's hair as it comes down their head. So here now we've got this curve, like a curved shape there. So now we've finally got the robes. So you can see how with that curving over, and it comes down through this 165 point right to the corner, and then here you've got another triangle, and inside that there's a triangle. That's that fold, just a couple of parallel lines. Here you've got the fold going up, and that's another triangle there, and that's that fold, and then another triangle and another triangle, and that makes that complete. Now here we've got a C shape, and that carries on. We've got that fold that goes down into the dark. And that, I think, oh no, here we are, nearly missed a couple. So here we've got the shirt collar that goes up, and again you've just got, caused by the hair, you've got that little triangle shape. Then underneath the chin here we've got a little rectangle, which is the side of a collar, and then we've got Ginny's Gryffindor tie, and there's a triangle, little triangle shape, which is the red stripe going across as it's folded around underneath. And then we want the shadow line there caused by this hair coming down, which is created onto the side of a neck. And that is pretty much a cubist Ginny Weasley. Just sharpen the pencil. Now we're going to come in and start doing the detail line of Ginny. Because we've got all of these shapes down, this makes it very, very simple to draw the rest of Ginny's face and features. Now we're going to start with these eyes, and you can see we want the same kind of diagonal line for the bottom of both eyes. Now inside this rectangle we want this curved shape, and we can see the edge of her eye on this part of her eye going up the eye socket to her eyebrow. So we've got this nice simple little curve, and we curve up the edge of the head. We go through the 105 line. Now I use this paper just to put my hand on so that I don't smudge as we come across the drawing. Now even with all of these lines I will have kind of smudged it because I wasn't using it earlier, but now we get into the detail stages, because I'll be rubbing out all of the construction lines and the grid lines when we've got this outline down. Now again, remember, I put this outline down very dark. You haven't got to. You can do it a lot lighter if you want to, but I do it just so as you can see. So this curves out and then curves up to a hair. Now a hair, we've got this fantastic parting in the middle, and that comes over and goes out to the side, and then we've got the edge of a hair there. Now we've got the shape of a hair coming down the outer part of her head, and this is coming from right the way up at the back. And so we come down, just give more definition to that line, and then it curves around and comes down through that point. Now the parting is very dark, and we've got a highlight coming onto the left hand side of her hair, the left hand side of the parting. So we've got the dark kind of on the inside of the right hand side of her head. So this comes down and we just follow the curve to join it down. Then we can bring the hair, you can see how it comes across. It's slightly diagonal, it curves up, it's not horizontal. So it curves up and then comes across, coming down and comes over through the 125 line and then curves over where a little part of her earlobe is. And then the hair, we've got this D shape here, this slight curve. You can see how it comes down, comes through the 145 line, pretty much dead centre. So we can bring that curve down, and this curve comes around right the way down past the collar, and these bigger shapes will help you putting the detail in. You know, on other ones I've started with the eyes, but I'm going to, like I say, show you that there's not a formula. You can decide to draw whichever way you want. So here we've got the dark of the hair in this V, and then the darker part there goes up and curves down, and we can see how that then curves up, and we can just put one kind of track line that goes up on the 125/85 line, and we can add more detail to the hair afterwards. So now we've got this V point here, and we curve up just slightly to the left of the construction line that we put in, and then that curves up, goes through on about a third point, and needs to go up to about halfway where that clip is, and then we can bring down a triangle of dark line where the hair joins. You can see already we're getting a nicer detailed line going down. So now if we come to the cheek, we can see how it just comes down a little bit and then curves over and comes through the centre of the 145 line. So just a nice little curve, comes through the centre line and then curves across even more. About a third, again it's on the third line, and we've got the construction line. So we curve the cheek down, and then you've got that slight little kink on the side of a mouth where it comes down to the chin. So we bring that down. In fact, I'm just going to, because it's so highlighted, I'm just going to rub that out first, because we've got lots of construction lines, it'll help after. And then we curve the chin down, following this line that we put in. And you can see how the chin then curves around, and we're going to do the line that comes up by the shirt, and it curves over. And you've just got a little bit that's on the 105 centre line. It's just a little triangle to the right of it, and the 165 line. So you see I'm using the inside curve of my hand just to try and follow the flow. So that curves. You can see how the shadow then comes up onto the 145 horizontal and the 125 vertical. And I'm going to do a softer line, because you see how that then comes up to where the ear is, but that's all going to be soft shadow. It's not a solid defined line. And we can just bring that shadow line down right on the 125 line, and that comes down again. I'm doing it nice and soft and lightly, and causes that point. Then we want the curve of the ear, the dark of that coming down to the collar, and then we can put the collar line in. Again, on this side you can see it's much closer to the actual centre line, to the 105. So we've actually put in the definition in, and it looks like it's almost where the stitching is on the actual collar. And then in the dark underneath where the book is, and now we can do the top of the book, the back cover. So I'm just going to follow that line to the spine, and then we want to do the front. Well, in fact, I'll just do the back, and then we'll do the triangle. See how that just comes over the 145 line. It just kind of curves up, and then you want this circle coming down, and then you've got the metal clasp that comes out, just kind of wobbles a little bit, goes to the edge, and then we want that curve. Now here we can see we've got a little black rectangle, another little black rectangle, and possibly like a little cross in there, and then up here we've got 4 little squares. So draw a rectangle, and then draw another rectangle making the cross, and then you can colour in the actual black bits. And again, there's just some swirly lines on, but we'll add those later. Now the edge of the book comes down to where the sleeve is, and then we want the back part. So you can see here that it's Ginny's hair that's covering that corner, and again Ginny's hair here that comes out and is covering the corner here. And this is the back of the book that's going to be in the shadows. Then you've got that little bit of Ginny's hair there, the bottom of her hair just slightly wiggly, and then we can follow that line up just to the right of the 185 horizontal and the 165. You can see just on that corner point you've got a little triangle there, and it kind of goes through and then goes up, and then we want this darker V that comes down. But you can see here there's a D shape, and it just curves and comes across, and then that comes all the way down to the bottom, and then we can follow that hair up, and here again you've got this nice kind of crescent, well, leaf shaped slither, and the outer part of the hair is going to go up, and then we've got this dark mass in this triangle that comes down, follow the line through the 185 165 corner point, that comes out to the edge. Then we've got the bottom part of her hair, that dark curve shape that goes up, and then again the highlighted bit on top, and then we can just curve out that line. Now we did actually put this line in quite nicely, so we don't need to go too much on that one. You can see how that's all coming together rather nicely. Just sharpen the pencil a bit. Now we want the spine of the book coming down to the hand, and we're going to do the final bit in the face last. Again, just so I can show you, you don't have to do everything in a particular order. We've got the spine of the book coming down, coming out from underneath the hand, and then we want this white part of a sleeve. We follow that curve down around, and then that comes back to the grey part of the sleeve. We've got that triangle, so we can just follow that curve of the grey, then the curve of her robes that come over. We can follow that down into the shadows of where the robes go up on the left arm. So now we've got, and we're going to start on this part of her wrist. So you can see where we've got this curve that comes up. And it kind of becomes soft, and then you've got the edge of the thumb, the start of the thumb coming out. But we want a little curve, and then it just kind of curves in, just a slight curve that goes under this cross point here. And you go up to where the knuckle is, curve for the joint, and then there's a little kind of dip up to the curve of the joint here on the thumb. You can see how that curve comes around and you've got the crease underneath. But then we can bring down to the thumb, front part of the thumb where a nail is. You want a nice curve coming down, and the thumb goes there, the front of the thumb. And there already you've got the little crease inside. And so here on the finger, we've got these construction lines. You can kind of see like a dead simple child's bird shape. So if we go from this side, you can see you got the curve coming down, and that's that kind of simple little wiggly bird shape. Now the knuckle, we've got the curve that comes round, and then it curves out to the second knuckle that goes past the 45 line a little bit, and then it curves back in just ever so slightly through the cross section on the 245 and the 45, and that then curves and comes down to the curve of the little finger knuckle, which you can't really see the knuckle, it just folds underneath. We come underneath the 265 line, and you've got the flesh of a hand coming underneath to the bottom part of a wrist. And that comes down there, and you just got a little indication of the wrist shape there. Now again, there's kind of highlights you can see where we'll put the shading for the flesh colour in a bit. But there straight away you've got a nice hand just by using very simple shapes. So now if we bring out the hair at the bottom, that comes down to the 245 line. So we've got that construction line that we put in. We can just extend the hair down a bit. We need to bring that triangle over, and then we can follow that curve up, the curve of the hair, that dark part, accentuate that a bit, and then come down from the outside of a head, darken up that outer line that comes all the way down to the bottom. And so now we've got the curve going up, we've got that triangle shape there, the curve inside of that darker line. It's kind of like a nice leaf shape, you know, if you kind of think of them as, you know, like a nice long elongated leaf shape to the bottom of the hair. And the same here, where this curves up. And then here you've got this little dark passage where the hair's separated and you can see the robes underneath. Again, that C shape down at the bottom, and that's the robes right down at the bottom. And now we've got to put the detail in of her actual face, her eyes, her nose and her mouth, and the clip on the top. So now we're going to come in and do the eyes, nose and the mouth, and we're going to start with Ginny's left eye. And don't forget, we've got the hair clip to do, so let's not forget that. It's very easy. But we're going to start, and we've got this eyebrow. Now I'm just going to define it a little bit more. I'm not going to draw on as dark as the outlines that I've done, but I am just going to define it that little bit more so that we've got that correct shape. It comes over, and you can see it comes right over to the 65 line, but goes very faint, and that's so the actual eyebrow comes to about there, but then you've got the shape of the eye socket. So now we want the eyebrow on this side. So, and you can see how you've got the line coming down and then it kind of kinks off. If you kind of draw that line over, and that's going to be her right eyebrow. So now we're going to do the eyes, and here you can see we've got the line of the bottom of both of her eyes, and she's kind of looking up at us from the corner, but we've got this rectangle for the left eye that's coming up, and you can see how we've got a curve underneath for the lower eye, and it kind of comes right to the center. So you've got the center line in between the 65 and the 85, got a little line there going up, and that's the part of her eye that's curving. You can see how that curves up and comes over and then comes down just past the 85 line. You got that kind of V there, and then this is going to curve down and around to a tear duct. Now it's very bright. We've got the light coming in from this side of the picture, and she's not got really dark eyeliner on, so I'm just rubbing out. Again, I put it on really dark so that you can see. In fact, I'm just going to sharpen my pencil so I've got a nice sharp point. And we can get that curve with a nice fine line, nice and simply. Now, put another one just underneath, and that's going to be where the eyelashes are that come off. And then we can bring the line up from the tear duct, and then her eyebrow that comes over is a bit darker. And then here we've got the circle of the iris of her eye. And it kind of fills up right to the corner of the eye. We want that curve coming round and up. And that's the dark outer part. Then we've got the pupil in the centre, and here you can see the highlight. So I'm just drawing a circle to leave the paper as much as I can. In fact, I'm going to try and just pull that out again with a bit of the putty rubber. And we've got the dark that goes up above it. And then the light blue. Then above the eye, we've got the crease of her upper eyelid, and that follows the same trajectory as the upper eyelid part completely. Again, we can just flatten that over, and then that comes down just above the tear duct, and then we've got the tear duct there, right into that corner. And you can see we've got that lovely space of her eyeball. And there's your first eye of Ginny looking back out at us. Again, just increasing the curve that little bit. Now we come over for her right eye. And we've got that line that comes across. Again, just carefully bringing the shape around and up to the corner. And then we've got the diagonal here. And then that curve comes up. And then comes down to the point on the corner. And it's that kind of leaf shape that you're after. And the top is about here. You can see it curves up where the eyebrow comes down on that corner point, and then the trajectory comes back down into the corner here where the tear duct would be. And we can just thicken up that eyelash, the darker part at the top, and then right in the corner you kind of see about halfway. And if you look, you can see it's in line with the centre part up at the top. So if we just come down where the light part is, we want that curve to come round, and then it follows up, and we've got a little bit of the eyeballs showing down there. And then we want, again, big round shape for the pupil, and then just leave a little spot for the highlight. Again, darken down just on that curve where it comes under the top of the eyelid, and then we can just fill in the bit of tone in the iris. Now here we've got this shape that comes up, but now we want to bring this up, little curve up inside to bring the rest of the curve of the eyeball up underneath that lower eyelid. Now the shape of a nose comes down, joins that point there, so you've got the curve of her eye, the nose creating the curve that comes up into the eye socket, and then it comes down straight to just about, well, fairly, just put a little bit of a slight curve on, and then the nose comes out when it's about halfway between the 125 and 145 line. It comes out, curves round, and goes through the 65 145 line. And then we want the underneath part to curve underneath to about, quarter. And then we want the nostril, that curves over the top of that, right on the 145 line. So that curves over, and then here you can see we've got this D shape. So you come down from this line up here to past, you can see where the shape, the corner of her eye socket is. You come down from past her eye, and we've got this D shape here. So that's where the side of her nose joins her cheek and the upper part of her top lip. We've got a strong highlight right on the bridge of her nose, and this comes down right down the left hand side of her nose, and we've got this, again, we've got this V shape underneath, and you can see there's a V shape shadow that's going to go off up the side of her head. And there we've just got 2 eyes starting to look out at us and the nose. Now, we come down to the lips. And they are on the halfway point. We've got the edge of a mouth. And we've got that little bit of shade that's right on the corner of a mouth. So now if we come down, we've got that bird shape again. And kind of up. The bottom of the mouth is on the halfway point. So we've got this rectangle that we put in. We need a nice curve coming round. We'll do the bird shape for the centre of her lips in a moment. And this comes round and then curves up to where the corner of her mouth would be. And there you can see the line comes down to where the curve of a nostril, and then it curves back up on the, going to the side of a nose. That's where the centre point of a lips is. And then that curves up and goes across the 85 line. Now we bring the top of her lip over, pretty much horizontal, comes over to past this part of the nostril, and then we get the little V at the top. And then we curve, just slightly go over and then curve down, and that's the corner of a mouth. And then we've got this little shape of a chin. And there we've just got a nice simple outline down of a nose. Again, I'm just going to bring that diagonal. And bringing the nose down a little bit and then kicking that out. Because it's highlighted, I'm now going to just remove a lot of the line. And then we've got this V shape underneath the lower eyelid that comes up. Again, we want that shape. We've got that V shape in between her eyes. And that's going to be the shading there. We've got, now we can just quickly indicate the shape of a cheek. Just a nice curve coming down around there. Just as we have done with the chin. Now that's a bit dark. So I'm just pulling that off quickly with the putty rubber. And then we've got the dark down there. Now we want the hair clip. So we come up to the top. You can see where it's about halfway. And it comes over and then comes down. And that goes around to the dark. We can see there. The outside comes down. And then we get that bend just past the 65 line on the centre line. And that goes up right to the top, the thinner part at the top, curve it over and join that down. Then we want the similar shape inside. So we follow the trajectory of that line. It comes down and that's a bit higher. And we've got this very strong highlight. So now, again, we follow the trajectory up, inside the line, up to the point, and then we've got the highlight that we'll leave, so you go inside the line again. And the same on the outside part. And then we've got those very strong lines going through the clip of a hair, and then one at the top, one there, curve going up, and at the back. And now we've got a very simple outline on top of the boxes that we put down using the grid system of Ginny. So now we need to get rid of all of the grid. Now I did have a large eraser and it's disappeared. Oh, the choice. I actually do have a very tidy desk, but it has disappeared somewhere. Do excuse me while I find the rubber. Oh well, that's disappeared. I have no idea where that has gone. I really don't. How bizarre. Anyway, I have a smaller one. It's still the same. It's a Mars plastic. It's just the rubber that I use for the bigger bits. Do you know, I used it earlier. Isn't that amazing? That's the joys of an art studio. And so now we're going to get rid of the grid lines so that we can then fill everything in. So I'm just quickly rubbing out the big spaces, the lines that are all around Ginny's head. And then it's easy using a larger rubber, and this is where I said to you at the beginning, if you draw these lines on very lightly, it's easier to remove them afterwards. Now this is kind of small enough we can get inside these bigger areas, but I do use a thinner rubber. Like here, we're going to possibly rub out some of the construction lines that we've actually put in the hair. So I do use a more, hang on, let's get the paper in so I can hold the sheet of paper so I can hold and not. If you keep pressing on with your fingers, you'll get grease off your fingers on your actual drawing, and that can be a bit of a problem because it can hold the pencil. So here we can get inside the cheek, but I can't really get inside the eye socket. Like there, I've just rubbed a little bit of the chin out, and there's a fair bit that we can get out there. Now inside the hand we can rub out a lot of the grid line and the construction lines, and the same on the cover of the book. And the hair on the collar, but again there I've just rubbed out parts of the hair. And now we're down onto the arms, but this is all part of the process of drawing, and this is why I do this, so that in real time, so that you can actually see how an artist will do something, and it's just great to show you in real time rather than, oh, here's a time-lapse bit, because if you know how to do this, you can just skip forward on the video, and you can, you know, using different keys like J, K and L. J will send you back 10 seconds, K will pause the video, and L on a keyboard will jump you forwards 10 seconds. But if you like double tap on a tablet or your phone, that'll jump you backwards and forwards 10 seconds. If you triple tap with your finger on the right, it'll move you forwards 20 seconds. So I'm now going to dust off all of this spent eraser. And I just use a big brush. Again, I'm just catching this on a big piece of card. You can catch it on a piece of paper. I used to just brush it straight on the floor, but you think, how dense is that? I can now nicely put this in the bin. Whereas I used to just sweep it on the floor and then have to sweep it up again. So now we can see where there's lots of the grid line left. So I use this, it's the same kind of eraser, it's a Mars plastic, but it's in a kind of pen form. Now this gives me a little bit more direct control, and I can come into the tighter area. So like here underneath the eye and on the nose, I can remove with much more accuracy the lines and next to the hairlines of the grid. And again, I've got to really press on because I draw these lines very, very darkly so you can see them. So they're inside the hair clip and underneath and in the hair, coming down there. Whereas if you draw them on lightly, you don't have to press on as hard. So there again, coming down the edge of Ginny's hair. And we can really pull out these grid lines nice and quickly without losing loads of the drawing. So they're up to the edge of the book. So now down in the hair on the outside. Around a hand and a thumb. Some of the construction lines down there in the sleeve. That's on the edge. Now again, round by the chin and the mouth, underneath the nose. And that, I think, oh, there's a bit down there in the next to a cheek and a chin. Again, underneath the nose, just removing some of those construction lines. And the same underneath the mouth. And when you've got so much spent eraser on your drawing, it's good to sweep it off, because then you can see, oh, have I actually missed some? And sure enough, I have. So there's like there on the book, and you can determine whether you want to get rid of all of them, or are they okay? That's a dark area, so you know you're going to be drawing over. But on the hair, I want to get rid of as much as I can. That one there by the side of a head. But that is a good and happy outline, slap bang in the middle of the book. Let's just get rid of that. But there we have a happy outline of Ginny Weasley. And now we can start doing all the shading in. So now we're coming in with the 2B pencil, and we're going to gently and quickly just letting the weight of the pencil onto the paper. I'm just going to put a tone down all over Ginny's face and a hand. And this kind of gives us a good mid-tone, even though we've got the strongest highlight is down here. And I'm just doing this very quickly. Again, I'm just using the side of the 2B pencil. I'm not twisting it, so that we get this nice coverage all over Ginny's face. Now, you can see I'm just bouncing the pencil backwards and forwards. And this is just control. I'm actually pivoting from my elbow pretty much. I'm not drawing with my wrist. And I'm holding the pencil right at the end. And this way you can cover large areas very, very quickly. Now the other thing is her eyeballs aren't pure white, so we're filling those in as well. I'm just going to cover the lips. Like I say, it just automatically went around the lips. So now I'm going to come down and do the same on the hand. Now, this is just something that I do. When I get to this stage, I like just using a piece of kitchen roll, and I just smooth it all into the paper, just gently pushing the graphite, the pencil, into the paper, and it just smooths out the lines. I don't know why, I wasn't taught it, it's just something that I do, and then you get this kind of nice smooth tone all over the actual subject and the skin. Now I'm going to come in with the clean putty rubber. Again, I've got the two. I've got a dirty one. That's done a lot of work. This one's a newer one, hence it's a bit cleaner. I'm going to come in and straight away pull out the highlight on the front of a nose, and it starts below the eye, and then up in the corner, down the edge of a hair, where a forehead meets a hair, down the side of a forehead, over the top of the eyebrow, and then you've got just inside, you've got a nice highlight all the way down, and the top of the chin, a little bit over the top of the lips, and then on the right hand part. And again, we can just dab a little bit off that upper eyebrow, and again by a nose going up over her right eye, and that V underneath her right eye as well. And there you can see we've just got a simple tone in place. Now again, top of the thumb, edge of the palm onto the top, down over the knuckles, and then where the joint is of the back of the hand, where it gets to the wrist, and just pull the pencil off that we smudged over onto that white bit of Ginny's sleeve. Now again, if you just come back in, I'm going to use a clean bit of the kitchen roll, and you can just soften the edge on those big bits that you pulled out. Now I'm going to come in, and because Ginny's redhead with very pale skin, we don't, and the light that we've got is from this side, but the darkest shadow's down here, so we need to look and think. Here we've got this triangle of shadow, and then in the corner, again I'm using the flat of the 2B pencil, in the corner of her eye, and then coming down the side of her nose, underneath the nose, and up the side of her nose, and then we've got this V underneath her eye. Again, I can actually see that there's a dark line there, and that's a bit of the grid lines that I've left on. Again, I can just remove that nice and simply using the putty rubber, and then I can come back in We can build up the tone that's there. Again, there's a little bit more tone on the edge of the eyeball. And the same on the edge of a right eyeball. A little bit of tone underneath the eye. And then we've got this part in between the eyes. So just gently fill that in. And then over the centre of the forehead, a little bit of tone here in between the highlight at the top and the highlight on the top of her eyebrow that kind of comes across and fills the front of her forehead up. And then we bring this tone around down the side to where her cheek is. And we've got this curve shape coming down the side of a cheek. And we can increase that tone as well. Coming down to a chin. And here we can see we've got a diagonal line coming off the edge of her mouth. And we just build a little bit of tone up, shape going up to the nose. Then we can soften that cheek off coming round. And then going up. And if we hadn't have put that first tonal layer down, this bit here would be very, very stark. Now we can just darken over that eye, underneath that eyebrow. We're just filling in carefully, just adding little bits of tone as we go, and I'm not twisting the pencil. So now that ear is quite highlighted, but by adding the darker tone around, that'll make that stand out. So now we're bringing the darker down on the neck to the top of the collar. And then we're increasing, you can see that shadow line coming down and following the curve of a chin all the way down. You can see how that comes to where her tie is. So we're just increasing it, and now I'm just softening it as it kind of just graduates a little bit around the side of a jaw and a cheek. And we want that darker right underneath the hair and the neckline. And we're just going to build up the tone carefully, a little bit at a time. Just filling in some of a tie. Again, that'll be darker underneath when we come to it in a bit. So now back on the chin, on the front, and then underneath a lip we've got this little bit of curved shadow underneath the lower lip. We're just building that tone up, and again that kind of matches this tone over here. Now right underneath the nose we've got a little kind of triangle of shade. We just want to bring that line over. And then we've got the crease in between the top of her lips, and then the shade going underneath. And that curve going round and up, and you can see you've got that kind of D shape. Just build a bit of tone around the nose, and then from the side of a nose, or the front of a nose, again, if I just come in with the putty rubber, because it's so highlighted, and get rid of the strong line, that's the actual highlight on her nose. We've then got this little bit of tone coming down a cheek. And underneath the nose and the right hand side of her mouth. Bottom bit of her jaw. Front of her chin, sorry. So again, like this side, just a little bit of shadow underneath that crease. Again, just slowly building the tone up in the corner of her eye socket. We want the same on the right eye. So we can bring that tone down across her cheek. And that curve of her eye, lower eyelid, goes right to the edge, where the upper eyelid comes out. And then we're just filling the tone in on her eyebrow above. And because there's so little detail and her eyebrows are so thin, we can fill this in with tone, but I'm still doing it in the direction that her eyebrows would grow. And there we've got some of her eyebrows in, just the shape and the tone coming together. And it looks very stark because we've got so much area and so little actually filled in. We've got a lot of blank paper actually showing through. So now what I'm going to do, we're going to fill in her lips. So the upper lip, the shadow is making that a little bit darker. And then that goes over onto the lower lip. And we're just increasing the intensity of the line in between the two lips, and you've got that V point right underneath. And we've got the curve of a nose with the shadow underneath the bottom. And the nostril. Now the bottom lip, we fill the tone in coming around, and you can see there's a highlight here, so just fill the bottom part as that comes around, but leave that highlight showing. Then we've got the shadow on the crease on the corner, and the same on the left hand side. Then we can fill that tone coming across from the bottom part of a lip to a jaw. And then the same going up to the nose. Because we're building this slowly and carefully, it just helps adding the tone. But we're just being careful, keep looking, and keep filling in slightly more, but carefully. And that starts to give us the three-dimensionality. You can see there's a face there now with 3 dimensions. So here we want to extend that V coming over to a cheek a little bit. And there we've got a little bit more shadow on a cheek. And then come up and add some shadow underneath the top of the hair. Now if we come down to the hand, and shadow on the back of the thumb, we've got this triangle here. So we're just filling that shadow in, and then underneath the thumb, and then down to the cuff. And there we've got the shadow going, or the tone, it's not a shadow, the tone of the skin, making it 3-dimensional. Again, underneath the hand, coming up to the knuckles. So here you can see on the second knuckle, it comes down and we've got this lighter patch here. And then between, well, the second knuckle going up from the bottom, you've got the first knuckle, second, third, and then the little finger knuckle. Between the first and second knuckle, we've got a little bit of tone coming back. Again, the same on the top. Again, if you come in with kitchen roll, I can just push that and soften it off, and we get that nice 3-dimensional effect, and you can see the highlight on the hand just showing up. Again, we'll pull in more detail as we go along. So now I'm using the kitchen roll as a drawing tool, and I'm pushing that tone of a cheek down, especially down the jawline, underneath a mouth and a nose. It's going to get a clean bit because I don't want to push too much around because of Ginny's lovely pale skin. And then we've got to add the freckles on. So again, this part coming off the corner of the left eye, going up to a hairline. In the corner and down the side of a nose. And using a piece of kitchen roll or a smudging blending stick, blending stump, it's all part of your drawing toolkit. And so there we've got those tones building up, and you can build it up just using cross hatching, and that's what I like doing. But I also like using this, it just, in a sense, it's like the hyperreal techniques that artists use, but you've got to spend hours and hours and hours. But I'm showing you a quick way to do it, and then you can build up your techniques as much as you want, spend as long as you want on a particular area. So again, just softening that nose, and there we've got a lot of tone actually down. And now what we need to do is just start adding more, because we've got so much blank paper. And so it's the other tones that are going to frame a face that'll give us the actual definition on the face, and then we can pull out highlights and increase darker areas as we need to. And so now we're going to fill in Ginny's hair really quickly. So again, I'm being very careful up the side of her face. So we've got the curve of her chin coming up, and then you've got that little kink that comes out past the mouth, and then the side of her cheek where that comes up and then goes up to her eye. But now we want the vertical lines of the hair coming down. So this bit here is going to be darker. Try not to go over the book. So we know that those bits are going to be much darker. But I'm drawing in the direction. I'm using the point of the pencil to give me some definition in Ginny's hair. Now, this is the thing with hair. If you draw it, if you just try and fill it in, it's going to look a mess. But if you draw the lines, actually following the flow of her hair, it's going to make it look far more real. So here we've got this darker section, and the same down there. Those bits underneath. Now coming down all of that front part of her hair. We're going to do the same. We're going to fill in the rest, and then we're going to start building the tone up. But we also need to leave this strong highlight. As you can see, I'm just kind of wiggling the pencil backwards and forwards, indicating that strong highlight there, and leaving it from the edge. And then there's one right the way up through the centre of the hair on this side, going to the dark into the centre parting. And that's the edge of that hair. Again, I'm just indicating these lines quickly. Got a darker one there. This is going to be a darker one that we don't want to lose. Then we've got this very dark area here that's one of the darkest parts on the drawing. Coming down over her ear. And then again we've got this shape that comes down here and this V. But as you see, you've got the hair underneath going that direction. So it's coming down underneath, and you can see you've got that dark patch there. And then we've got another V of dark here. So I'm just indicating it very quickly so that I don't lose where the dark parts are. But always drawing the lines in the direction that the hair's going, as if you are brushing it and combing it. And we need to just carry on building this up. Just sharpen the pencil a little bit. Now we are going to carry on filling in all of this hair. Again, I'm using the side of the pencil got that dark there. And we've got these, she's got lovely straight hair, but it just curves as it comes over the shoulder. So you can see here we've just got these curves coming around. And we're going into that dark area. Now, coming down the hair at the back. Now we've got this lighter, we've got a second kind of highlight here. So just being careful to fill the direction of the hair, but allowing this highlight. So it's darker here than it will be here. So we've got this highlight coming over the hair. So again, just following the shape and line of the hair all the way down. And there's a dark line in between there, and the same here at the bottom of this one. And then in between there, and again we know that's the very dark triangle. And the angle of a hair goes there, we've got that one coming down. And so we're filling this up, and I've just gone over that part of the book, so I'm just rubbing that out quickly. Again, just be careful when you are filling in all these bits. So here we've got a hair that's pulled across. There's a highlight on the front, but it's coming into the clip. And so it goes through the clip and then curves around. And then comes down. Goes up to the clip. Again, even this little bit that's showing, draw it in the direction that the hair is actually going through the clip. Now, the hair coming up to the top of her forehead, and then from the clip we've got, again, there's going to be a highlight here. We can just pull that back in using the putty rubber a bit more, which we will need to do. Again, the highlights here are the brightest, like this. This one isn't going to be, so just lightly, lighter than you've done around, draw more of the hair in as that comes down. So again, this is how you just build the hair up slowly. As again, we put all those basic construction lines in of the hair, and then we can just come in over the top using the kitchen roll, and we can smudge it around. I'll be very careful next to the face. But again, I'm even dragging this down in the same direction as the flow of the hair. Just being careful around the face. But this way, you're actually filling in large areas of tone that you can then build on and build the work and the detail up. Now, again, on the front of it, the right hand side of a parting, we've got hair that comes down, but we will be able to pull out the highlight. And straight away we've got more of a tone that's actually framing the face and giving us slightly more definition. Now I'm going to come in with the old used putty rubber. Again, if you've only got one, it doesn't matter, you can just use the one. But these are just techniques that I've developed over the years. You find what you can use and utilize. So I'm just indicating where the highlights are in a hair. But because this is a very used putty rubber, if you're very light and careful, you can pull it off and it won't pull off massive amounts of the pencil. And so I'm just indicating where the sharper highlights are in the hair. So here you can see there's these lovely golden lines right the way down to the bottom of the hair. Again, there's a few there, then at the back. And this all kind of comes together at the end. But you've got to just do these little bits now to help you when you build up the extra layers of tone. So that's going up over the clip. And then you've got this patch going into the, the nice lightened part here. Again, I just rub my finger over. So you pull it off. You've got the highlighted parts coming in. And then you just smooth a little bit of tone over. And then coming down right on that corner. Again, the hair. So right on the front now, it's very light on the edge. But I'm still going in the direction of the hair, and you can see how it's giving you that fibrous look of the direction that the hair is actually growing in and then brushed in. So because that's so large, I'm just using the putty rubber to fill that in. Putty rubber, sorry, the kitchen roll. Now again, the collar on, we can just literally pull some pencil over. And that's the tone that we actually need in that collar. Now again, the tie's got to be darker. But we've got all of this pencil around here. Now again, I'm just going to use the kitchen roll and smudge that corner. And I'm going to come in with the 4B pencil. And we're going to do the leather on the book. So I'm just indicating the top line of the book. But 4B is softer. B is for black. So the high number like 4B, 6B, 8B, you'll get a blacker tone easier and quicker. But it's just softer. And so for the texture of leather, the softness is actually what we need. Now, we want a very dark line on the top, in between the front and back of the book of Tom Riddle's diary. But then we've got this leather front, and it's all different tones. So I'm using the side of the pencil to put a lot of tone down first. And we can just kind of wiggle the pencil around. It's darker obviously by the hand because there's a shade created by the hand right next to the book. And then as that comes up over the thumb up to the edge of the book, the diary, we've got the stronger highlight right on the edge. So I'm just filling it in, looking where it's a bit lighter here, but then darker all the way across here. And then it's kind of lighter at the top, but we've got this kind of patch of dark coming across up to the metal corner ornamental piece. And it's darker coming down to the sleeve. We can just build up the dark a little bit, but again you can see the texture in the leather. So now I've got the flat part of the pencil going quite well because I've not twisted the pencil. You can kind of indicate, oh, just snap the tip off, didn't mean to do that. I tilted it up too quickly and high, so I lost a bit of the flatness, but it's so soft you'll get it back quite quickly. And we can indicate those little darker bits in the leather quite easily using the flatter part of the pencil. So there's the edge, and we've got obviously got the nice darker bit right behind, and we'll fill that in presently. So the texture of the leather, we don't know if it's, it's just a leather bound book. I don't think it's particularly snakeskin, as Tom Riddle is, you know who. And in his younger days, and he enchanted this diary to snare people. And so there's a lot of the diary already in, and then we've got, it's kind of darker, light on the edge, but dark, an even tone without all the light on up here underneath the hand. Again, I'm resting my left hand on top of my right hand so that I'm kind of free with the pencil strokes. Now I'm just kind of going up and down to fill in the space of this diary quite quickly. It does kind of look snakeskinny. Perhaps it is just off a big snake. Now again, if you want to copy all of this perfectly, just doing the book would take you days. So we're just after an impression to make it look really good quickly. Now again, I'm coming in with the kitchen roll. Just going to smooth this tone around. It gives you the soft effect of the leather. And then we can come back in and darken bits down as we need. Now you can see you've got the highlight on the leather and the edge of the book looking quite nice. It doesn't matter about going over on that edge because this is going to be much darker in a little bit. Now, I'm just carefully pulling up the highlight on the edge there and just dappling some little highlighted parts on the leather. So again, here on the edge we can really pull that highlight up, and then right up on the top of the outer cover. Again, just now dappling with the older spent putty rubber. And we're just adding some texture and character to the leather. Again, these highlights in the front middle part of the book. You kind of see how it's reflected off the white of a cuff up onto the leather itself. There we have that's looking like that leather bound book. And again, we're just after a good impression. Now I'm gonna I think that might be the last of the 4B pencil. So it's a good job I've got a new one. So yeah, that's I can't really sharpen that anymore. So just coming in with a full 4B pencil and carefully up by the hand. And we can just grade out into the leather over the top of the thumb towards the spine of the diary. Again, because of the little kind of patterns on the, I'm just jiggling the pencil, and that's creating these kind of little vertical lines and marks that you can see is building and adding on the book. And you can see where it's kind of darker, so that's where I'm adding those bits first underneath the clasp. And across the top, got that kind of line. And then some of this patterning again. Just coming down. Underneath the highlight at the top. And the edge of the book. Again, I'm just going for the impression. So it's an old book and it's got scratches on it and long lines and lovely wear and tear. And that's what you can do. You can just enjoy making marks with the pencil. And you can see how that's looking like an old battered book. So again, just come in with the putty rubber, and this won't pull off too much of the pencil that you've put down. So you've got that reflected highlight coming off the cuff onto the leather, and that looks really, really lovely. Now I'm going to use this smudging tool rather than this because it's a little bit more controlling. I'm just picking up there's some pencil on already, but I'm just dappling in the metal. And that gives me the kind of battered metal look that I'm after. And again, I'm just knocking that in. And that makes that work quite well. Again, I'm now going to use this bit of paper to rest my hand on, because I want the absolute directional control. And we want this dark down the edge of the book, and then going up into this hair. We've got the dark as well. So that's looking quite nice. Now, using the smudging tool, just going to fill that in behind and the edge. I'm going to come in with the 2B pencil just because it's got a little bit more control on it, and we can crisp up that edge. The same on the clasp at the back, and we can add some little crisp lines in the metal. And I'm going to use the clean putty rubber, just indicate quickly and dab on some small highlights just on that clasp on the corner. And we can see how we've got the shape and the tone coming together, and I'm just filling this in so as we've got a good coverage on the page. So again, now we want to indicate where the creases are quickly in a cloak. And then we've got the real dark shadows underneath the hair. But we're going to have to be careful because a lot of times I won't fill this amount in until quite late on. But so as we can focus on the hair and draw and then detail up the face properly, we need to put the dark in all around. And so we can fill in all of the cloak there. Again, we'll darken it down. And then we've got the ribbing on a jumper, how that comes out. So I'm doing it in the same direction that the actual jumper is. Again, I've gone over there, but we can just pull that out with a rubber presently. Again, darkening down the cloak. Shadows actually in the cloak. And really just quickly filling in all of that tone. And again, the same down here. Now carefully next to the diary. So as we don't go over the diary, just being very careful, and next to the hand. Around the knuckles, we can fill in that black. And then we've got the shape of the hair that we already put in earlier. So we can go up to where the bottom of the hairline is. There we've got that shadow in that kind of C shape there. Got that curve of the shadow coming out. And all this needs to be dark and filled in. And now you can see we've filled in nearly all, well, pretty much all of the actual art now. And we can build up the details. We can work on a hair, but we can work on the eyes and the lips. And then build the tone up on the actual hair as well. So again, we've got these darker parts now. I'm just quickly indicating these real dark patches. We've got this V shape here in the back of a hair. And how that then goes in the direction of the hair going over the left shoulder. Again, dark there. Here we've got a kind of T shape of dark. And going up to the neck. This is just it. We just keep working round carefully. Building up the tone. There's a little bit there going up. So now we're going to come in and we're going to detail up the eyes. We've got a lot of general tone down and we haven't filled in the dark on the hair clip here, but we're just going to bring up some detail now on Ginny's eyes. So I'm using the 2B pencil. Really, I need the 4B pencil, so I also want a sharp point. And we're going to start with her upper eyelash on her right eye. And that's going to be darker coming down over her iris and pupil. And so the outer part of the iris is nice and dark too. And you can see how that curves up. And then we've got the pupil. Again, we want to leave that highlight. So I'm going to really try and pull that highlight out. You're going to have to use the electric rubber. And just put that dark on the top. Again, really coming in with the putty rubber. And that electric rubber again. And darken the outer part of the iris. And then you've got that nice highlight in her pupil. Now, the iris, just darken that a little bit. And then just touch, you can see at the bottom, a little bit of highlight, and that increases on there for us. Now again, if we do the right eye, we've got the dark that comes right over, and that curves and comes right down to the corner. I'm just twisting the pencil. This is the 4B, so as it's nice and dark. And we want the outer part of the iris. It's nice and dark down this corner, and it just curves up underneath, and then lines coming out from the center for the iris itself. A little bit of a dark fleck there, and you leave the highlight showing. Now I'm going to come in with the 2B pencil. It's nice and sharp, and we can do the crease over the top of the left eye. Again, just so as the edges are soft and not, you don't press on too hard, so as the actual edge of the line is soft and diffused into a skin. Now we want coming down to the tear duct, not as dark as the top. You've got that lovely red blood fleshy colour, so you know that's not going to be as dark as over the top. And then we want the curve coming down and around very carefully. And then the lower eyelid, we've got that curve coming up. And then we've got some eyelashes just... I just got some little bits on from the rubber. Nice and gentle, just indicate her eyelashes coming round. And then on this side, same again, just indicate some eyelashes underneath the lower eyelid. Then we've got that curve going right up. And we want to just build the tone. The flesh in the corner. And then above, we've got, like this side, we've got the crease of her upper eyelid coming to underneath where her eyelashes are. Now again, just twisting using the sharp points. And we're just indicating that eyebrow. As that comes off, and we want a little bit of dark tone right in the corner of the eye. Again, slightly dark tone caused by the top of the eye on the eyeball of the eyelid and the brow of a socket. We can increase that little bit of shade on the lower part of her upper eye socket. And then come back on her right eye. Again, same thing, we can just increase the tone, a little bit of shadow. And then into the corner of her eye. So what we need to do first is we need to now indicate, so we can come across and we can now indicate her eyebrow. I'm just drawing lines in the direction of the way that her eyebrows would actually grow. Right the way up, so you've got this straight line going up over her eye. And then the bit that comes over horizontally. And then I want a little bit of dark, going to shade underneath this eye. This kind of diagonal, this little triangle of shade. And then right in the corner here. And then this bit comes down the nose. We bring the shade down just a little bit. Centre of her nose. And the same, we've got this triangle here. In fact, before we do that, I just need a little bit of shade covering the curve over the top of her eye where that crease is. And then again the shadow underneath her right eye. I've just gone over the nose a little bit, so I'll just rub that out quickly. But we're now going to come in and on the upper part of the lower eyelid, got a highlight right going up into the corner, and then above the actual iris and eyeball, just going to bring that out a little bit more. Got a highlight on that upper part and then in the actual higher part of the eye socket and then above the eyebrow. Just going up. Again, I'm just dabbing with the putty rub it very carefully. And just underneath the hairline. And over on the left. You can see we're just getting a little bit of more definition appearing on Ginny's eyes. And it just seems very light because of the hair. Again, we'll build that detail up in a little bit. So now we come down to the nose. We've got the curve of the nostril. So we just increase the shadow at the front of the nostril. And then we've got the shadow underneath the nose. And then this D shape here, where the side of a nose and a nostril joins a cheek. Got a darker shadow there. I'm just using some light cross hatching just to build up the definition gently going up the side of left-hand side of her nose. And we do need to add all of Ginny's freckles on. So again, the front of her nose going right to the edge of that highlight. And then we've got shadow at the bottom there. Edge of a cheek. Now, we come down to the mouth. We've got the top part of her upper lip going to the dark crease in between her upper and lower lips. So it comes down, you've got this little point here, and it goes over to this little shadow right in the corner at the end. I'm just filling in gently and carefully the shadow in the upper part of the lip. And then you want a little bit of shadow coming down onto the lower lip, caused by the upper lip. And you've got that curve right to the edge of her mouth. Now, right on the lower lip, we've got to leave this highlight here. So we come round, up underneath, and the lower lip. All the way down. And there you can see now we've got much more definition in the centre of Ginny's face. And we've got that shadow in the corner, the same on the corner of her mouth, just little diagonal lines going off. Then we've got this fantastic, just lovely, you got that definition there of the highlight underneath, but you've got the shadow underneath her lower lip onto her chin. And then the same up and by her ear, we can increase the shadow here caused by her hair. Into the neck. Soften the shadow coming down the collar. Again, I'm not twisting the pencil so that I'm getting this nice, soft, flat area of shade. And we're just coming down right to the end of the chin. And then we take that up. Again, just keep following your line and the shape of the jawline. And that's that nice darker shadow, but then we need to really darken it down. So I'm just going to come in with the 4B pencil, because you can see here, right on the edge of a jawline to a neck, we've got this very dark vertical line, but it's soft. So again, I'm not twisting the pencil, just letting the softness blur out going up to the ear lobe. Then we've got dark coming underneath. This comes down here and comes under, but it's not as dark as it comes down the lower part of a jawline. So we've got this much richer, darker area here. That's then going to the shadow on the back of her neck underneath her hair. And we can just build that up and just widen that a little bit. and then the curve comes down. We've got this slight little reflected highlight, so you can see I'm just leaving that slightly brighter, caused by the collar of her shirt. And then we can bring this shadow all the way down. Again, just building that dark up. Just putting a little bit on the hair above so we can see the earlobe. I'll just darken the earlobe a little bit too. But you can see now we have got much more definition showing on Ginny's face. And if we come now down to the bottom part of her jaw, and we bring this dark around the chin, and we've got the dark of the edge of her collar, and then this dark patch between the right hand side of her collar and her tie, and then the dark of her hair. And we can really, I'm just darkening that back part of the book, and then the kind of shadow bit between the front and back of the book. And that's fantastic. That's giving us some real good definition. Now we can see coming up the side of her face we've got a dark line, but what we need to do, and I'm going to use the 2B pencil, I'm going to darken the collar and Ginny's tie. So again, we've got a nice general tone all the way over. That's a little bit darker. And then we've got the red, the burgundy red, the burgundy stripe of the Gryffindor. So we can darken that as it goes right underneath the chin. And then again, here we can increase. You've got the chin is giving us a diagonal line across there of shadow. So you can just increase that all the way across. And again, it's darker the further under the chin it is. And that's how you get the three-dimensionality. And the same down in this corner. It's very dark. And then it curves out and you can see that little highlight that's being left. And the shadow caused by the edge of her collar. Now again, we've got lots of dark that's going to come down. But I'm now going to just quickly, so here we've got some shadow coming down on the collar. Caused by a chin. The collar curves. Like all this is going to be dark, which will really frame this and build it out. And actually make the collar stand out. So I'm just putting some of these tones in of the shape of the fabric and the light. And again, you can see here the edge of the book, we're going to have to darken her hair down because at the moment she's a blonde. She's not the redhead that she actually is. Or as the Weasleys are called, gingers. But we will, oh dear. Didn't need that as that dark on there. But this is the thing, you just draw around and you just keep going. And if you do make a little crossover line, sometimes you can leave it, other times you don't. So now I've just built up that dark line around the thumb. And now we're going to come up her actual jawline and cheek on the right hand side of her face. You can see how that darkened line is going to frame her face and make it stand out. And all of a sudden, you've now got a face actually looking out at you. That's actually really lovely. Now again, we've got to add a load of freckles and all kinds of stuff, but we can see here, so like now I can see we need to just increase a little bit of the shading going up there to a head, and then this little bit in a cheek. Again, I'm just using the cross hatching, just going backwards and forwards very, very quickly. Bottom bit on a chin. And then here we've got this shadow just needs to join together. Again, that shadow caused by a hair going down to where her earlobe is. We can darken that down a bit. Again, going up the hair. Just put a bit of shadow. And this is the other thing as well. You don't have to slavishly copy the photograph absolutely exactly. You can be a little bit creative. So you can increase the shadows if you want. You know, that's something that you can experiment with. So now I'm just coming across the front of her forehead. And as we put more of this on the actual drawing, it makes her hair look even lighter. So here, coming up the centre of her forehead. Again, now we've got this, there's a triangle of shadow here right in the corner of her eye. And then the bit underneath the nose. We've got this triangle of shadow on a nose and just on a lip. And it just comes down, and you literally, so you can see now already we're just building up those tones, and you're getting more of a three-dimensional face. You know, if you look at that face now in comparison to the hand, it's looking much more human and more three-dimensional. So now we've got a straight line coming down a nose, and then the front of a nose just kicks out. Then you've got that fantastic diagonal going over. Now I'm coming back in with the putty rubber, and we're going to really pull the highlight up on the nose. You've got this diagonal coming down, and then the highlight right down the edge of her face, around the side of her mouth. This really strong curved light on the edge of her chin, then goes up, just dab above that, you know, there, just dab a little bit, coming off the corner of her mouth. Then you've got the top of a lip, so in that little V, and then you've got that vertical going up to a nostril, and then on the light side, on the right, coming down from the tear duct, the edge of her eye, now I'm doing this quite quickly, and you can use a brush or a cotton bud to really smooth the transitions down if you want to. But you can see now there, because we've got that nice highlight on her eye and on her cheek, and we've got around the corner of her nose, so this is what I said, you know, we'd actually put the form in using the putty rubber. We want to build up this highlight. And we'll come back in a little bit later. Now, you can't, like I say, you can use a brush or you can use the kitchen roll. So again, I'm now softening on this side because it's not as bright a highlight here. I'm just softening where we've taken that pencil off. But you can see now we've got that lovely highlight and that curve over the top of a cheek. But it's still got the bright highlights down this side. Now, we're going to come in and we're going to develop Ginny's hair. He says hair. I'm going to use the 2B pencil at first. And this is going to be quite quick. Now again, when you're doing hair, you know, I'm going up and down, but I'm going in the shape of the hair, the direction of the hair. You can always go in the actual direction. So like here, I'm going down. But as long as you go in the direction that the hair actually is, that's what will make it natural. Now, Ginny's got a lot of straight hair. And again, it's flowing over her shoulders. Now, I'm doing this really quick. You can spend as long as you need. And if you want it photographic, you have got to spend hours and days just on the hair. Again, I'm using the 2B pencil and I'm twisting it so as I've got the sharper point. And I'm actually indicating some darker lines because you can see here we've got this like much nicer dark, and I'll come in with the 4B pencil for the real darks. But if you squint, you can kind of see. Yeah, I'm just putting some like more definition lines using the 2B pencil because it doesn't go down as quickly as the 4B. So again, around the edge of my hand's just off the page here, the hair clip, so I haven't got the paper on, but the paper will be back presently. And we want the edge of the clip. So I'm just defining that's going to be all dark, and then we've got that highlight inside. Just going to sharpen my pencil again. This little bit quickly, I just want a sharp point as I define some lines, and then we're going to use the flat point. So there we've got the edge of the hair clip. I need my putty rubber just to bring the highlight up. Because that needs to show. And it's just where, so again, I'm need where the hair's coming. It's just where there's some darker lines. So you can see here, I mean, this is really light, but she's got dark ginger red hair, as all the Weasleys have. And so at the back, I've got that. There's a darker line. Following the curve of a head. Some dark lines coming down there. And here we've got this much darker patch coming down into this V. Now, you can build up the tone using lots of lines like this really quickly, or really slowly. If you want to go slow, you can. That's absolutely fine. But I just wanted some of that definition. But if you squint, you can actually see that there's large areas of nice soft tones. So I've just put some of those guiding lines in for us. So I'm being careful going around where the clip is. So like here, So when you're right next to the clip, using the flat of the pencil, you're not going to get sharp lines like these. So you can be careful and not go in the direction around. So here, obviously the hair is going that way, but I am filling this tone in, going up and down, because of the shape caused by the hair clip. But, and then right next to it, here you can see, I'm again adding this tone, but not in the direction of the hair. It's just so that I don't keep going over the hair clip. But because I'm using the flat of the pencil and using the soft tone, you're not going to have the problems of the directional hair. But now, because I've filled that bit in, I can now actually draw the tone as I need it. So, in the direction of the hair, and you come up and it joins and does the work for you of building that hair up right next to the clip. Now again, I'm using the flatter side of the pencil. Again, I'm squinting and I can see here there's like a diamond shape of tone. And I'm going for all these much darker midtones. That comes right the way up to the top of her head. And then we come down the back and we've got some darker tones coming down in the lines in the hair. Again, this bit that comes over her shoulder. Nice and dark down here. We've got a highlighted part. We've got a very dark V. I'm going to put that in using the 4B. I'm just going to indicate that so I don't lose it. And so the tone of her hair is coming down to her shoulders. And this is where it'll go from, and you can already see her hair is started to frame her face. It's looking much darker and much nicer, and she's not looking like a blonde anymore like she is on this side. And it's just a case of building your tones up carefully. But again, use the flat of the pencil and you can put these, and you can see there we've just filled in some really lovely dark spaces. And again, you can add a lot of detail to the hair over a long period of time if you want to go for that super hyper real hair. And again, if you check out Ariana Grande, she's got long straight hair, and again, I try and go through that as quickly as I possibly can. Again, I'm using the tip, I'm not using the flat, because here we've got some lines coming up. I've put the tone down and we're going to come back in and highlight it, but I'm now just using the tip to indicate strands of hair coming down. But already you can see that looks more like the tone that we actually need. And we're going to put some highlights in here for Ginny's hair. So again, now if we come right the way up the left hand part of a parting, we've got this darker tone again. And then we've got this highlight coming up all over the top. So you can see we've got this highlight here. here we've got like a leaf shape of darker tone that comes right the way over and pretty much joins the centre parting here. Again, careful by the clip. And now I'm just filling where the highlight is with a slightly lighter tone. And we'll use the putty rubber to put some highlights in. So again, all the hair down here. Again, I'm following the curve. Following the direction of a hair. Right to the ends. And that already, I mean, it's gone too dark here. You can see we've got the highlights, but we need to pull that back using the putty rubber. So now we can see we come up to here, kind of level with the centre of a nose. And this needs to be darker down to her thumb. So again, I'm using the flat of the pencil, pivoting from my shoulder, my hand, I'm literally resting on the pencil. So that's what's guiding my actual hand. So we come up the side of her face, and now we just need to go a little bit lighter, and then a little bit darker down by her cheek. Again, just like we did by the hair slide, we can really use the soft of the pencil and just darken it very carefully. And then when you start doing your vertical lines, it just blends in. Because you're using the soft side of the pencil, it just helps to be very careful. And then when you start doing the vertical lines, that really then blends. So I'm very carefully doing vertical lines up into that shadow that we put. And you can see now, Ginny's really starting to look out at us, because the hair is now tonally getting close to what we actually want for the finished drawing. So now we're coming up and doing the side of a hair. Now this is much lighter, so I'm not pressing on as hard. That there is some bits of rubber. So again, there's a bit of rubber from where we've rubbed some eraser, where we've rubbed and erased stuff out, whichever term you use. We just called them rubbers in England. I don't know why, because we just rub on the paper and it rubs things out. It's an Englishism. I think everyone else on the face of the earth calls them erasers, the correct word. But that now is smudged into the paper. And what I'm going to do is I'll just turn that into dark lines. So we've got this darker little patch here, we've got a darker patch there, but we need the mid-tone. And the soft side of the pencil's absolutely fantastic. So now we need the dark in the centre of a parting coming down. All the way down. Now on the left hand side of a parting, you can see I'm just literally dabbing in the direction of a hair towards the highlighted part, and that gives you that little bit of gradation of the hair going right to the centre of a parting. We need to do the same on the other side. Just touching it, because hair's organic, it's not a solid line. Now you can see we've got that strong highlight going all the way up. Now, hair going down a little triangle. And we've got darker to the edge and the highlights right in the centre. So I'm just filling this up with a mid-tone, going up, and then it gets lighter at the back because there's a stronger pulse of light. And then darker at the bottom, and the same on the left hand side. Now that's really starting to look something like. Again, I'm just indicating some lines, twisting the pencil, just showing the direction of the hair coming down. And there, I mean, all of a sudden, Ginny is looking out at us, which is fantastic. Now, this is something that is very easy to do, and you do tend to miss. Now, I am going to fill in this black. I'm all told it's probably going to be an hour plus that I'll be spending on Ginny's hair. So again, I'm using this pencil, the 4B, to put the black in very quickly. But this is what I love about doing these videos for you. I actually love doing them as quick as I can. I know that they're, hours long, but in reality, a drawing like this would take me days. If I was going to do a full proper portrait, it would take me absolutely days. So here we've got the dark of that hair clip, and then we need dark right underneath. So here we've got this dark that's going through, hair clip that comes out the back, and then here we've got this lovely V shape of dark that comes down above her ear. So again, I'm twisting the pencil as well, and this comes right from the hair clip, so I'm getting some sharper lines. Just putting some of the very darks on that we need. So there we've got that lovely dark patch right by her ear. But then we need to draw out some darker lines going up. And again, the same coming over here, and then we've got some dark lines actually in hair going up next to the parting. And if you just indicate a few, it just helps give some definition when you get the highlighted lines on as well, and the mid-tone lines. So we can just indicate, so like here at the back, we've just got a couple. Now again, remember, you keep going in the direction of the hair. Now here we've got a nice dark patch, and then next to it I'm just using the tip of the pencil quickly and carefully, but just putting some actual lines in the hair. So now I'm just going to hold the paper because I'm really pressing on hard. We've got this dark patch here, and that's a bit too bright next to it, so I'm using the flat of the pencil and grading the tone out. And then the dark comes down and curves over his shoulder, and then you've got this nice curved part. Again, we want the curve going over the top, and then we can fill that line in that area of that V. And then coming out of the dark, so it's actually darker here as it curves over. And then we've got the V here, right in the corner. And then the same here, and then the dark on the bottom of a hair coming down onto a cloak. I'm just quickly putting in these darker areas, and then we can, in the next section that we do, it will be smudging it together, putting highlights and then detail in. But just by, see like that, I've missed, so I've just filled that tone in. But we need darker next to it. Kind of halfway there. Again, I'm doing this quickly and impressionistically. If you want it super accurate, you've got to spend a long time. So there's a bit of a V dark coming down to Tom Riddle's diary. And again, this dark right in the corner. Underneath the ear, caused by a hair next to a neck. So even there, as it curves into the clip, it's darker still. And here, it doesn't matter if you go up and over the lines, that's how the hair is. So the hair's going up underneath. So it doesn't matter about crossing over on those little bits, because that's how the hair really is. And again, that hair's looking more natural the more of these lines we actually put on. So now back down here, I want some more dark. Onto a cloak, just build some of that shadow up very quickly. And then underneath the chin, again, I've got to be careful here. Got that dark line, and here we've got this really nice dark that comes down to a thumb. So again, careful. And then right next to a cheek. I think Ginny Weasley is going to be on a par with Ariana Grande in length of time, which is just amazing. But, you know, this is the thing. I don't sit down and go, I'm going to do this in 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours. I just do the work that needs to be done to show you. So again, that's going up to her eye in the corner. And here we've got some dark. I'm just using the soft of the pencil that's framing a forehead there. And that's a lot of the main tones in, and we're going to build on it and increase some of the detail and some of the highlights very, very quickly in the next section. But again, down here I'm doing the same, just to build up these darks and frame a hair at the bottom. And you can see how that dark, it's really starting to lift off the page now. This is such good fun. I know at the beginning when you've just got the face, it looks really bleached out and not fun, but this is where putting the tones on makes such a huge difference, and it's just a process. And I hope you're having as much fun as I am. And just like you guys, like I say, when it's at the beginning, you're like, oh, is that right? You know, every artist feels the same. I can guarantee it. You know, you're doing it and you're working to produce, and you know it takes time, but you still have feelings. Anyway, this is looking great, and we will build up the detail in the hair next. So now we're going to come in. I'm going to use a smudging stick. You can use a cotton bud if you want. But I use these blending, I call them smudging sticks, blending stumps, which is just rolled up paper. It's compressed paper. And again, there are YouTube videos online that show you how you can make your own. I've never done that. I buy mine just online. Again, I'm going over the hair now, and I'm just blending some of these lines in. But I'm just gently pushing it in, pushing the pencil round, and it just helps smooth out all of those tones and some of those lines. And you can then push the pencil around and blend it over. But again, I'm doing exactly the same as I did with the pencils. I am going in the direction of the hair. So we're coming down the hair, how it goes over the shoulder, right to the edges. You see, that's lovely because it's just flattened out, smoothed out all of that tone. So now again, here on the parting, we can soften the edge where the hair line meets the scalp. And I'm just literally bobbling it, you know, not doing it perfectly level, because the hair, as it's pulled, doesn't create a perfect smooth line. And I need to do the same now going up to it. So I'm the highlight. So I'm now just pulling some pencil towards the highlight. And it just fills in those gaps. Again, same, I'm really pressing on in this dark a bit now, where the shape goes up over the head. And you can see we want to just push some of that tone down because the highlight here goes over a little bit. Pressing on not so hard there. Again, on this lighter side, we can just pull and fill in all the bits, and it just kind of softens everything. And you can cover all the page, and then especially on this bit in the hair, you'll see in a moment, like here we want the strongest highlights, but here we don't want it so strong, and just pulling in the highlights on the hairs with a putty rubber will do everything that we need. Softening the edge on that corner because you've got the hairs that are sticking out. Now again, underneath the chin, the hair coming down to the thumb, and it just softens the edges, like these dark areas here. just softens the edges out. And it just makes it look absolutely lovely. It's just a way of getting the tones that you need as quickly as you can. Again, I really like doing these quick drawings. If you want to do hyper real, this will take you days. But I'm giving you as quick a guide as I can. So again, now we've gone all the way up the side of her face, and I'm just gently filling in right next to the face. Blending some of the ends up. That's fantastic. Hang on, I'm just pushing a little bit more around on Tom Riddle's diary. Now I'm coming in with the older putty rubber. Again, I'm just folding it over. And you can see the difference. And it's just because this has been used on a lot of drawings. But it won't, it still works, but it won't pull up too much of the actual pencil. So again, on the actual highlight now, coming down Ginny's parting. Remember, it's Bonnie Wright. Hope she likes it as well. Hope she sees it when this goes up, especially the time lapse as well. And so now we're going to, you can see we've got the highlight at the back is stronger. So we've got this highlight here on the centre parting to the back of her head. And at the top here on the right hand side, it comes down and then kind of comes in the centre of this right hand side of her parting. So we've got right in the centre some sharp highlights. And then we can put the thinner ones going slightly wider. And there straight away you can see we've got lovely three-dimensional definition on that part of her hair. Now again, by the centre parting, just keep pinching it to a sharp point, and then you can extend some of those thin lines coming over to the left hand side. Now here we've got a lighter part where it curves and goes up towards the hair clip. So I'm not pressing on as hard, but I'm just doing the highlights in the direction of the hair as it needs to go. Just keep pinching it a little bit so I've got a sharper point. And there you can see you've got the strong highlight here because we left the paper as clean as we could. But here now we've got this slightly lighter tone appearing. And the same on the hair that's coming down the side of her head. Right at the top we've got some nice highlighted lighter area. We've got a few coming down. Now even in these darker areas we've got some long thin lines, and I just use the putty rubber to actually indicate some there. And just like we did on the cheek when we pulled off the highlights, in the darker areas we just go over with the smudging stick. That'll help to blend it back in. And again, even these bits here. So now this highlight coming over the side of her head, I'm now indicating the lighter hairlines, and you can see there already that's starting to lift off and look more three-dimensional, but it's just a little bit too much. But we can come back in, and you can even use a 2B pencil, slightly gently use the side of it if you want, or just use your kitchen roll or the blending stump. But here now, so we've got this lovely shape of highlight at the back, and you can see how fantastic that's all working together. Again, some highlights, thinner ones going to the centre parting. And this is all just working steadily around the image. Again, down the back of the head now. We can just lighten that tone up. And it just gives us that lovely three-dimensional edge that the hair actually needs. So here we've got a nice highlighted part that comes around the curve by her ear. And we want some thin lines going up into the darker area. And there's so much pencil on here that you need to keep, and it does dirty your fingers actually, keep shaping the putty rubber. But there's so much pencil. I'm just going to try the clean one. Because that old putty rubber, it's not really getting enough up that I wanted in this darker area. Again, this is just experience. There's no shortcut for this. Just you do it, and you know, is it getting the effect that I want? Is it working quickly enough? So there you can see that's really making this rubber very dirty very quickly. So here we got this highlight in the bottom as it curves over his shoulder. That's better. And then right to the edge of a hair. And then by the corner clasps on the edge of Tom Riddle's diary. And then right down to the edge of a hair. So you can see already we've got that lovely three-dimensionality appearing in Ginny's hair. And it doesn't take long at all. But it's just working in a process. Building up your layers. Now you can do the hair very slowly and just add tone darker and darker. But again, I quite like this effect of using the putty rubber. Because it gives us a number of lines and effects that would be harder to do and just take an incredibly long time with just using a pencil. So again, where the hair comes over, just crossing some lines over a little bit because that's how hair does go. Now on this edge, got this fantastic. Now again, there's less pencil on here, so you can see it's pulling up very bright. But this is where, using the putty rubber like this, you're actually creating the effect of some highlighted lines. And then when we come back in with the blending stump, we need to go right up to the cheek. It'll soften it down. Now, there, that's looking really, really lovely. Okay, we've got a sharp highlight inside there. Even down there. Now, before we move on with the blending stump, I'm going to come in with a sharp 2B pencil. And what I'm doing now is I'm just putting lots of lines to indicate Ginny's hair. Now, you can use a 2H pencil for very light hair. Again, it just depends what kind of effect you are after. But by twisting the pencil, you keep using the sharp edge and the sharp point, and you're getting the long lines that you actually need. So I'm coming down, and here we've got a hair. That's just coming over a shoulder and going up to the clip. But the sharp point, again, you'll just learn to press on as hard as you need to. That's just practice. So we can press on darker here, just getting some of these shadows in the bottom part of the hair, and then they get less frequent as they go up. But that gives us that lovely tonality that we need to give the curve of the head. So again, just coming next to the where the highlight is up the centre of the right hand side of a parting. Again, just coming in with next to the centre line of the parting and then right into the corner. Now at the top, I'm just lightly indicating some hairlines. At the back of her head, just a few darker ones. And then as the hair comes down and curves over the shoulder, going to the edge. Again, just twisting the pencil, keeping the sharp point. Because as you draw, you flatten it, but if you twist it, you get the sharp point on the other side. That's literally how simple it is. Now that's looking really lovely, and it just works in conjunction with pulling some of those highlights out. Again, the same coming down. Again, I'm just increasing some of the dark there. Now I'm going to come in with the blending stump, and I'm just lightly feathering backwards and forwards over those bits that we use the putty rubber for, just to darken them down, because this is the strongest highlight here. But it then leaves those nice sharp lines, and you can see that's blended in for her ginger hair. Again, the same as we come down here. Blend it at the bottom. It's got the stronger highlight on this part here. So we just need to be careful. And then up the side of her head, again, just nice and gently, we can just soften those highlights down. But you've still got that three-dimensionality. And again, right up onto the top of the head, just soften the highlight as it comes over the top of her head. Now I'm going to come in with the 4B. Just to indicate some of those darker lines again. And that then gives us the definition that we need. For the shape of the hair. In fact, I'm just going to sharpen that because it's getting a little bit low. Oh, tip just spattered off because it's so soft. If you press on too hard with the point, it will break and explode. So here coming down, got that dark. Then right at the edge, coming onto a left arm sleeve. You can just go up and down and you get the edge of that hair. Lovely. Again, just using the dark of the pencil but going in the direction of the hair. You're actually filling in her sleeve, but you're actually creating the shape of the hair that you need. Again, twisting the pencil, getting the direction that we need with some darker lines. And that's looking really good. Can we put the dark in now? On the hair clip, and then coming down into this lovely dark patch of hair just coming off the clip itself. That's looking really, really lovely. Now dark down by a hand, coming up underneath the hair on this side. Again, that frames the hair exactly as we need it. Now we're quickly filling in the dark on a sleeve, the shadow area, these triangles that we put in earlier. This needs to be a bit darker as it comes over here. Right next to the book. Tom's diary. There, that's looking rather lovely. So now the edge of a sleeve as it comes down. And then we've got this cuff. And you've got the ribbing, so I'm just literally just curving over the lines of the ribbing on the cuff of a grey jumper underneath the robes. And that kind of comes all the way down. There, that's filled that up quite well. Now we've got the curve of a cuff coming round. Highlights kind of on the top. I'm just dabbing that in. And then we've got a little bit of shading here, but we need to build up the dark of the diary next to a hand. So I'm just increasing that with the 4B pencil. And then just blending some of it out into the leather cover. And up at the top, a bit more of a dark line. Got some dark next to the clasp. Coming up onto the leather. And the same, we can actually darken underneath Ginny's hand onto the leather coming down. Now you can see we've got more definition in the diary. I've just sharpened my 2B pencil. We're going to come in and use the flat side again, and we're going to get the three-dimensionality that we need on Ginny's hand. So here we've got this shadow down by the back of a thumb. And we need to come up the top of a thumb. And then down by the collar. We've got this kind of curve of tone. So lightly fill and then just get a little bit lighter as you come up from this corner. And then you do the same down on the lower part of a wrist. And you can see the curve around the joint. And then underneath, we've got a reflected highlight, but we've got that shade just underneath. And here we can really crisp up the line right underneath. And we've got a little triangle of shade there on that knuckle. Little rectangle more there. And then where this comes along. A little bit off those knuckles. Now you can see already we've got more shape and definition in Ginny's left hand. Again, darken it down right at the bottom where it comes over the bottom of the book. And that's those tones, but then here we've got it's much darker underneath the thumb. Oh, I did go and clean my fingers as well. I went and washed my hands because I don't like, because I'm trying to keep this clean, getting too dirty. There's nothing wrong with getting lots of pencil or charcoal all over your hands if you're fine with that, but I'm trying to keep this drawing clean for all of you, so as you can see it and enjoy the process. Then we've got the crease coming up, and then this lovely pink shade coming all the way down, but just leave the highlight right on the top. And there now we've got a lovely three-dimensional hand. Just going to bring up some more shadow around the knuckle on the thumb and down the top. So again, just indicating some of the patterning on Tom Riddle's diary, using the flat side of the pencil. And you can just keep going like this for a long time. You know, this is where you can make the choice of how far you want to go with your actual drawing. And there you've got that reflected highlight off a hand and off a cuff. And that just looks really, really lovely on the actual book. Again, I'm now just putting some lines down and then cross-hatching them just to give you that kind of cracked leather, distressed leather look. Yeah, it's looking rather lovely. Now we can just define that line up next to a thumb a little bit more, next to the highlight on the edge of the book, of the cover. Right, so that's all really lovely. Now, using the sharp point of the 2B pencil, you can see we've got lots of wispy hair coming off. So down the side here we've got lots of hair just cascading down, again over the top of a forehead. Again, I'm being very light. You could use a 2H pencil if you want. Got some coming down the centre of the forehead there, and then coming off to the side, going up to that clip, and then some just down the side of her face, over the collar, and then off the back of her head, the side of her parting. Again, you can do as much of this or as little as you want. You haven't even got to put any on if you don't want. But it's just, you know, just something that you can do. You know, that one I'm not too happy about at the back. So I can just pull those back a little bit. But there are quite a lot of wispy ones around here. And off the side. Now we've got the most important part, and that's Ginny's freckles. Now I'm going to use the soft side of the 2B pencil, but very, very gently. And I'm just looking on her face. Where these are. And we're coming across her cheek. Again, I'm just indicating very carefully. Just increase the shadow in that bit above her lip. Down the front of her nose. On her cheek, and it's just slightly mottled. So if you just use the side of the pencil, if it's flat and soft, you're getting the right kind of effect that you need. Again, just coming up onto the front of her forehead. Again, she's so well lit that you can't see them too strongly, you know. So if you really press on, you'll get a deep dark mark, and we don't want that. We just want a nice gentle mottled pattern. And already you can just see that there's a little bit of difference, and it just, well, it literally makes Ginny Ginny. So here, over on the highlight that's coming down over her cheek, and I'm just being very, very gentle. So this corner part on her eye, where it comes over the cheek, just indicating lots of freckles, but being very careful. A little bit darker around here, so coming over you can see there's a darker one there going up to the hairline, few in that shadow. Then we come down onto a part above her top lip, the upper lip between the lip and the nose. And down on the chin. See, that's, to me, that's one I've just put on there, is a little bit too dark. So just come in with the putty rubber. Carefully just pull a bit off. And then you come round the chin. Underneath the lower lip. And you can see just coming up the side of the cheek. You just got lots of nice, gentle tones in the skin. Again, you can just add, just keep looking and keep adding as many as you like. Again, coming over the eye here. The central bit in the eye. Again, I've just put that one on a little bit too dark. I can just pull that off. And you can add some other mottles using the tip of a putty rubber in the highlights, and that increases them as well. That's looking really lovely. So again, here now with the eye, we can bring a bit more shadow down off the actual corner. but the actual freckles will help with giving this final definition. So now down on the side of a cheek. We can build up the dark again. Again, it's just a case of building up slowly and carefully. We've got this wider tone coming around the side of a cheek that then comes up under the hair. And right down the jawline. Now we come in and we want really sharp highlight on that upper eyelid, upper part of the lower eyelid. Highlight on the eyeball. And again, we can, like I say, just use the actual putty rubber to dapple some highlights. And that helps to give that freckle effect as well. Up by the corner of the eye, over the eyelid, right at the top of the forehead, in the centre. And then we've got that strong highlight right at the top. There we go, that's increasing that for us. As that comes down. Now I've cleaned off the stump. Some people sand it, I think, and I cut it down. I'm just picking up some pencil on it. I'm now using it. I'm using this as well to build up some of the tones on the face where I need it. And you can even dapple it. And this will help to give you your freckles as well. Just wipe it clean a bit because this is very light and we need to keep it that way. Filling up the front of the hair, the shadow, in the corner of the eye, underneath that eye, underneath the left eye, right off into the corner. Then we've got this cheek, and just filling that up. And it is just like using a pencil, but you're actually covering softly a wider area very, very quickly. And that's really nice, and you can see the nice dappled effect of the freckles. Now again, just come back in with the 2B pencil. And down on the nose. Freckles on the nose, just increasing these. This is last bits really. That's really, really lovely. So now just coming in with putty rubber again. Just to really accentuate these highlights. Coming down underneath that right eye, on the side of her face, top of that eyebrow, up to the side. Right in the corner of her eye. Again, I'm being much lighter on this because it's not as bright as on this side that we need. A little bit on her nose. Reflected highlight above the nostril. Again, just doing the same, and then up by the hairline. Corner of the lip, going up to the nose. And the front of the chin. So again, just come in with a piece of kitchen towel because this is softer. And there you can see we've just smudged that in and you've got that lovely dappled effect for Ginny's freckles. Now we just need some final bits. Coming down her face and her cheek. Underneath the nose. Again, darkening just that little bit in the centre of her mouth. Anyway, I hope you've had fun. I'm really pleased with that. That's a long process of a drawing. In fact, before we just finish, I've just noticed on the hair clip, and we really just need to define this quickly. So we've got here the highlights on that clip just to make it stand out that little bit. And the hair inside. But that is yeah, I'm just these are final details. Honestly, this is just wiggling on the cuff, that grey cuff. We just need to indicate some little flecks. And then again, just darkening that little bit down on her arm, and we need that dark between those two bits of the end clasps on the corner of Tom Riddle's diary. You see, that makes that stand out. Oh, really, really final bit. And I'm just softening this tone down on this corner. just darkening that. And overall, I'm really happy with that. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe for more how to draw videos. I really do hope you've enjoyed Drawing Ginny. That's been fantastic, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Ta-da.